Welcome back to The Chosen Life. I'm your host, The Chosen Lawyer, and today I have a very esteemed colleague and friend that I've known now for some time. You've known him and you've seen him in the media. You've heard him speak at some event or on the news. Mr. Tim Hudak, the CEO of OREA. Tim, welcome to The Chosen Life.
Jonathan, good to see you again. Thanks for choosing me to be here on the Chosen Life in, pretty swanky studio you got going on here.
Well, as we were talking off camera, and proud to tell you that you are the very first guest
Outstanding.
of the new set. So people watching the episodes and watching The Chosen Life, we've been going now for almost a year. They'll see that when we're filming live, we're going to be at a high table, the idea being like a pub table,
Sure.
And we're hanging out like at a Firkin or something and getting to know one another, and they're pulling up to there. And I was sitting with our videographer and saying, look, what happens if we have more than one guest? And, I started looking at beyond podcasts. And I was saying, back to the days of Johnny Carson and Ed McMahon.
Right.
And then you start going into Jimmy Kimmel and Ellen and Oprah. And what do they got? They got couches.
Yeah.
It's nice and comfortable. We're sitting in the living room. Why do we got to sit at a high table?
So am I the Andy Richter to your Conan O'Brien? I'm the Ed McMahon to your Johnny Carson? Who? And Paul Schaefer to your David Letterman.
You are my LeBron James to my Ellen, I guess.
Oh,
So that's the statue. Andy took the night off today. We just went straight into LeBron, but that's the level. And so you get to experience our set. This is the first time this set has ever appeared on The Chosen Life. And we're going to have fun with it because literally, like, we're in our living room. I even came and I said, in my living room, I would have a rug. We need a rug. We need to have a Buddha statue. I want something feeling, that's what I would decorate my home.
Yeah.
And so you're sitting in my living room. I invited you to my home.
Buddha statue.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where do you stand on the lava lamp? Would that fit in with the Buddha statue? Or
The lava lamp was a thing back when I was 10 or 12. I used to love the lava lamps, but as a practicing Jubu, I love to have my Buddha statues.
Yeah, okay.
And so that's where I tend to put them. But one day you'll see a Buddha, you'll understand from where it came from.
Very zen.
So welcome to my living room. Welcome to The Chosen Life, to our audience. And for those watching worldwide, we are in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And we're going to be digging into Tim's extensive and beautiful life, his chosen life. And going to have some questions for you as well, but we're going to have fun along the way.
You bet. So that's why it's like a couch, so like a psychiatrist couch. I can just lean back, cross my feet,
I never
and let
thought
her
of
rip.
it that way, but if you would like this to be a therapy session as well, it may go there based on the questions I'm going to be asking you, certainly. But we are going to, I would like to reason, when I read about your life, when we first met, when I see you speak at events, I always think, what's going through his mind? Why did he make these decisions in his life? Where did it go? Now I'm finally getting an opportunity to do it.
I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, I won't disappoint you too much.
Let's see how good Tim Hudak's memory is.
Oh, no.
Yes. So this is, I believe, now our third or fourth meeting. I've been before to the OREA office. We caught up and talked as a real estate lawyer or OREA CEO, talking about the real estate industry and how we can kind of work together and how we can help the industry. That wasn't our first meeting. Do you recall when it was the first time we met?
The Riverside real estate office opening. You were popped in because you do a lot of law work with them. Nah, man, are you sure? Maybe you don't remember.
I am 1,000% sure. Because one of the fun things is when I'm bringing people on, most of the time they actually are friends of mine, they're colleagues. Somebody who touched my life even once, and we kept the connection going. And I wanted to share that connection for people to see. Out of all the places that I met Tim Hudak, you were appearing at the Adelaide Club, I believe. You were the keynote speaker.
Okay.
And I was a little late coming in. And I go to the bathroom to go wash my hands. As I'm coming in, who is leaving the bathroom but yourself? I met Tim Hudak in the bathroom, and that's where we first connected, of all places.
And hopefully I wash my hands as well. Man, I swear.
You are a great hand washer. I did notice that, yes.
Thank you. I remember sitting in my office and talking about real estate and law and your experience, and you gave some good advice on what we do better at OREA for our members and for clients. But I swear I ran into you at an office opening at one of the I can't remember what brand it was, but a new office opening on Riverside, and we talked about law. But
it's very, very possible. But it was actually at the keynote speech. I do have that kind of memory for it, and impactful because I did follow your career up till then. Had many questions for you as far as, and we're going to get into it, as far as life choices and always fascinated with politics, of why somebody chooses politics, where you go into politics, your lifelong devotion to politics, and then choosing to leave politics. and being with OREA. So we're going to get into all of that, but that was running through my mind. And then part of the reason why I came was to hear you speak, and I wanted to hear about where the real estate market was at that point, which I believe now was a good 4 years ago at least. And first person I bumped into was you. So that's where fate has it. We kept in contact. I reached out to you. We had a nice meeting in your office. And then when the Chosen Life came, one of the first guests I had envisioned was yourself, because you combined everything as far as a person that I believe is a good mentor for others, is a visionary, lived a great life, is living a great life, and you have such that energy. One of the best speakers I've ever watched. And I tell people, I've actually shown my lawyers, I said, watch a Tim Hudak speech, and that should tell you how you need to speak.
Man, all right. Well, let's just end the interview now. That's good. Let's set the high point. It's all downhill from here. It's been nice being on the Chosen Life.
So let's start off slow.
Sure.
First and foremost, kidding aside career-wise, there is a balance of life, because you have a devoted family life. You have that work-life balance, as they call it, even though a life coach told me you never to use work-life balance again. It's all about prioritization and integration.
Okay.
But work-life balance is apparently a myth. But when I meet with you, and when we've talked before, the way you talk, even just now, off camera, before we started, first thing you bring up is your daughters, where they're at. And that shows to me loving dad, family first. Tell me first and foremost, whatever your role in life is professionally, about family life, and what is the Tim Hudak family life like?
I grew up in a very supportive, encouraging, and active family in a small town, Fort Erie, Ontario. You've probably been through Fort Erie. It's right across from Buffalo, New York. Great place to grow up. About 23,000 people, so a small town feel. But you got Buffalo across the river, and in those days, that was practically part of the same community. And Toronto, an hour and a half down the road. So you had the pleasure of the small town and the big cities close by. My parents were very active volunteers, so they're good at sports. My dad was principal, mom was a high school teacher and a special needs teacher. They had a lot of support, my sister and I. So I wanted to be like my dad and my mom as much as possible with my own daughter. So Miller is now 14, heading into grade 10. I can't believe, Jonathan, the time has flown so by so quickly.
Wait till she drives. I have a 16-year-old.
Yeah,
It's coming, buddy.
Oh, man, if I could turn back time. And then Maitland, she's a little fire plug in the family. She's full of spirit. She's the fighter, the scrapper. Miller's very much, by the rules, typical older kid. And Maitland is heading into grade 3. And then my wife, Debbie, as you may know, she's has a communications business. She was a top advisor to Premier Harris and Premier Eves, and a guest host often on News Talk 1010. So I'm blessed to have an awesome wife, 2 amazing daughters, and I hope I can be half the dad to them that my dad was to me.
Now, you weren't born to generational Canadian parents. You were born to immigrant parents, correct?
Well, you know what? No, it was my dad was actually born here,
Oh, he was. Okay.
but the rest of his family came from what was then Czechoslovakia, Slovak background.
Okay.
He was the surprise kid in the family. The rest had come across. My dad, I think, was 12. Anyway, I think about 12 years younger than his oldest sibling. So he was the surprise kid to the grandparents. He grew up speaking Slovak. He's from Sarnia, Ontario, and so that's the heritage on that side. My mom, though, straight Irish Canadian, been here for much time. She's also from Sarnia, Ontario. So when you get the Slovaks and the Irish together, they tended to have a very good time.
Wonderful, and tend to have also work ethic. When you come from the old countries and where their parents came from and then their grandparents came from, one thing I've noticed, when you come to Canada and you come from different countries, regardless of which country you came from and your culture, your religion, ethnicity, the one thing preached is hard work, discipline. And I hope the Wikipedia people were correct on this, because I did a little bit of digging to make sure. But first jobs before getting into politics, OREA, true or false, you worked at the Peace Bridge at one point? Is that true?
I did. That was one of my jobs.
Yes.
You can always trust Wikipedia.
I was a little sketchy on that, but I'm like, I got to ask him, because I feel like he's a hard enough worker that he probably did that.
I appreciate Jonathan, and I suspect he comes from a similar background. My grandparents came here with barely a penny in their pockets. They worked hard, and my grandpa did some really tough, backbreaking jobs working in mines, in forestry, to make enough money to bring the family over from Czechoslovakia. And ended up opening a small business, believe it or not, in downtown Toronto. Had a small restaurant, bought some businesses in Sarnia, worked hard, died young, which is not a surprise, I think, for that generation. And my grandma kept the home. She saved every penny she could and encouraged her kids to similarly work hard, do well in life. And my dad, I believe, was the first of his family to go on to university, became a teacher and a high school principal. I can tell you about an early job. I did work at customs for a while.
Okay.
I can tell you I worked at customs for a while as a Peace Bridge. I worked there as a student, and then I worked there full time for a year before going on to doing a master's degree in economics. It was a great job in terms of you learn a lot about people, right? Mm-hmm. So people are coming across the border, and part of your job then is to make sure people follow the rules and some enforcement if they don't. So you run into a lot of, individuals who are smuggling across alcohol or tobacco, drugs, weapons, some nefarious characters that you want to keep out. In fact, was that the first time you and I met? Oh, sorry. The records are sealed. 25 years. We're okay.
That's why I had to grow the beard.
Yeah, there you go. So that's just fun
But
joke.
how old were you roughly at this point?
Yeah, this was early 20s. It was a great learning experience because you do learn a lot about people and the skills. I mean, your success in law practice too, right? You used to look people in the eye, seeing their body language, their tics. A famous one was, are you bringing anything into the country? And somebody would look up the road. Nope. Any alcohol? Nope. Any tobacco? Nope. Or the iron grip on the steering wheel. Those were sure tells. There was one time a guy was going through as cool as a cucumber, didn't declare anything, been gone away, just driving by himself. And then just at the last little moment, he takes out his Bic lighter, lights his cigarette, and then tosses the Bic lighter out the window, thinking it was a match. So he actually was nervous inside. That was his tell. He was almost up the road. And I forget, we found cases of booze and stuff, hidden away inside the car. I was good at the job. They kept stats, so I did very well in that department. It paid the bills, and it was a great social environment because there's probably about 90 or 100 of us that would get hired in the summer, all university or college students. And a lot of my good friends actually met their future wives through that work. But it wasn't for me for the long run. I respect the work that they do. I think it's important enforcement we have along the border. And it was a great, 4 years for summers, I think, and 1 year full time.
Look, I find a lot when I'm meeting a professional, when they're finished education, they've done their term as far as apprenticeship goes. It's really interesting to see what they did as their jobs growing up. That tells me a lot on a person. I can tell you, I went through the supermarket ranks. I was working in produce, bulk foods, from the time I was maybe 13 on. And I had a job working at parking lots for a summer, measuring from 3 buildings, how many cars are parked for each of the buildings and having to keep an inventory. World's most boring job on the planet, but it has to get done. And to me, it just shows discipline and it shows initiative. And it's one of those items. Did you put yourself through school? Did you work hard? Why did you choose this job? What skills did you acquire from it? It's interesting that you could be taught in school one set of skills, but life teaches you a very different set of skills when you're out into the workforce, and having diversity of work, I think, carries you forward. And that's where it's good to know that was accurate. The other job was the Walmart, apparently.
Yeah. So
Wikipedia is 2 for 2 on this one.
Yeah, I mean, close. So the first job, actually, believe it or not, was teaching tennis lessons.
Yes.
Which is not exactly as difficult as some of the jobs that you talked about. That was high school. That was good. Lifeguarding too, because I took all those courses. That was a great summer job when I was in high school and save up some money for university. The one that was, I'll get to the Walmart in a moment, Jonathan, if you don't mind. But the one that sticks in my mind that really helped me steer forward, I was at university and I got a job in the summer working at Pratt and Lambert Paint Factory. Long since closed. It was an old factory. It was a victim of free trade because it wasn't efficient. I got a job there and it paid decently, so I was happy to do that. But my job basically was being on the assembly line, and the paint can would come down, the wheeled ramp. I'd grab it, stop it, and I was in charge of putting those little tin handles on. So I'd get the straight tin, push this side in, push this side in, push the can down, grab the next can. And I was doing that right around the whole shift. You get your breaks and all that kind of stuff. And I said to myself, this is stultifying work. Somebody does it. I'm not built for this sort of thing. And also, and said to me that I want to aspire to more in life, to put my skills to the test. And that was, while it paid my bills for tuition and such, it really told me that I had a different calling in life and to work harder in school and succeed. I didn't want to be the guy putting the lids on the cans.
And pretty sure they have robots that have replaced that position.
The jobs didn't last. Yeah.
Long time ago.
That's probably true.
It's like my brother telling me when I have a brother that's 17 years older than me, by the way. I was the surprise in the family.
Oh, there you go.
Jonathan translates to gift from God. So, anyways, I understand that part of it. But I remember him telling me I had the opportunity to get into the typewriter ribbon business. A friend of mine thought I should invest in it. I was a little skeptical of where typewriters were going at the time. I think he made a very, very good call on that. But at the time, look, we're all on typewriters. I came through grade school. I was in high school still on the typewriter. I didn't have my own computer really till I think maybe grade 13. And there was a grade 13 at the time. So understanding generational wise, and that's where it's a really good segue to tell you, I had to go look at a couple of sites to make sure about your date of birth.
Right.
So I'm in my mid-40s.
Uh-huh.
I thought you were younger or my age. Apparently not. Apparently you have found the fountain of youth.
Oh, come on now.
How is this possible? You have better hair than me, better skin than me, better shape. What are you doing, man? Like how? You've gone through a life of politics, which is grueling mentally and as far as travel goes. How have you done it? How have you done as far as keeping yourself in the trim figure you are, staying young, looking young, feeling young? Like, what has been your secret?
Jeez, man, with all that sweet talk, you should be the one with a politics career.
Never know.
Oh, it's plenty of time. And right back at you. Look at the shape here, and look at this. And you're telling me that you don't have the fountain of youth. That's actually him there on the label.
I can tell you, it's thousands of hours of yoga.
Yep.
And thousands of hours in the gym, and disciplined eating off a spreadsheet to remotely get to the Tim Hudak level. I have professionals looking after this.
I will tell you and I'll come back to the Walmart story if you like, or we can move on. But look, it's nice of you to say. When I was in politics, and then we'll probably talk about that. It was all consuming. You started, Jonathan, talking about work-life balance and priorities. I was living, breathing, eating, politics around the clock. It's kind of the nature of the job when you're a leader of a party, particularly, and that a lot of that is running from event to event, scarfing down burgers, drinking a lot at receptions, and that's probably about I got about 210, 215 was my weight, and I had a moment after I left politics to get more balance in my life and spending more time with my family, my girls. I get to do things now with my youngest that I missed with my oldest, spend more time with my wife, and just try to get in a bit better shape. So my little key was the Peloton. I got a Peloton, fortunately, before COVID-19 hit. My wife Debbie and I got it. I love being on that bike, and I can do the weight programs through it as well, and just try to watch what I eat a bit more and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not like I was maybe when I was, playing at the All Ontario Badminton Championships. My other little, I don't know, is that in Wikipedia? But I'm in better shape than I was during politics because I put all on the ice when it came to the political game.
Well, I can say, having known you now for 4 or 5 years, you can see it right away in the face. That's where people can hide it. People look for waistlines, everything. You can hide that with shirts and jackets and jeans, depending on how you're doing it. But the face always tells a story. I can tell you with all certainty, you are in better shape today when I first met you 4 years ago. So Peloton is definitely working.
There you go. Thank you.
But was that a conscious decision? Because clearly you were athletic throughout your life as far as teaching tennis, being involved in sports. Was that a conscious decision throughout your life?
I missed it. Yeah, I missed it. I mean, I was not, high school rec league. I was not some superstar. We all dream that we'll make the big league someday, but it wasn't at that level. But sports are always a big part of my life. My dad actually played college football, was on the Canadian national championship team. My mom is in the Tennis Hall of Fame, believe it or not, in the province of Ontario. So it was a value ingrained in the family. And because I found my life in politics, which I would not trade for anything, it was so consuming, I got away from everything altogether. And I could feel it, and I had less energy, and I felt less good about myself. Love to get back doing some of the racket sports. Basketball was another favorite. Maybe that'll be the next step. But in the meantime, thank you for saying that. I do enjoy the Peloton. I'm usually on that, or the weight exercises 5-6 days a week.
I can tell people, look, it's when you put the work into it, when you make a conscious decision, it's not dieting, it's not quick fixes, it's a lifestyle. It's the same way you're going to wake up. I'm going to breathe, I'm going to walk, I'm going to smell, I'm going to talk. This is the same thing with all of that. And anybody who makes that decision, when they come to me and tell me, what did you do? And please help me help myself. I tell them, you have to make the decision. Bottom line, is this your lifestyle? Is this something you're going to commit to? That this is just going to be the most natural thing in the world, and that's how we're going to do it. And it's little bit by little bit, and all of a sudden it just happens over time. Nothing is a quick fix in life. But I'm sure the same way in career-wise, politics just doesn't happen overnight. You have to go into it. You have to put little bit by little bit. You need to grow. You need to learn. And that's the only way it's going to happen. It's sustainable.
Trade-off also is I can keep eating my barbecue and my craft beer and my bourbon. So that's the other bonus of this.
Hey,
is that a good lesson or is that the wrong lesson we're trying to drive today?
They say that you need to treat yourself. There's been studies that have shown, psychological-wise, you need to reward yourself. You do good things in life, even the little victories. I got my to-do list done today. I drove my daughter. I got her set up in her new camp, for example. And I just finished this home renovation. Go have that beer. Go have that steak.
All right,
do whatever you got to do. You need to reward yourself, because if you do not reward yourself what's going to happen is you're not going to have that incentive to go and drive harder into the future.
Good.
And before we get into politics, then we have to wrap this one up, because it's funny, the stories all intermingle, and there's a reasoning why we talk about what we do. But I do need to know, what was the background behind Walmart, and when did that happen in life?
Yeah, it was a great experience. So I had come back from University of Washington, where I did my master's in economics, lived in Seattle for a couple of years. Loved that. I was called back I thought about living in the States, but I loved Canada, and I want to get involved in politics. And I came back in 93 and got involved supporting my local conservative candidate in that federal election. And my goal, Jonathan, was not to be an elected official. I wanted to be, a policy guy. I wanted to be an advisor. But as you may remember, you were a young fella in those days, younger than you are now. We got smoked down to 2 seats. So there were no jobs for people like me. So Walmart, and this is a pretty tough economy at the time, was coming into Canada. They bought all the Woolcos, and they hired a traveling management team to turn the Woolcos into Walmarts. So you go into a Woolco store, and you would clear out the old merchandising, warehousing, and you'd close off a part. The store stayed open. You close off a part and then transform it into the Walmart look. And Woolcos, if you remember them, they're crowded, they were dated, and Walmart had a new look. You also train the staff and hire new staff. And it was fantastic. So I did work in Ontario, I was in Manitoba, in British Columbia. So it was a chance as a team, travel across the country. You'd spend about 2 months in each community, turn the store over, hand over the keys to the manager, and move on to the next. In my early 20s, that was an awesome experience and showed the value of hard work and taking a chance.
Right. And then what was the decision to transition? That was your transitional position back into politics?
So yeah, it was a bit of a gap filler. It was a great experience. It paid the bills, but I realized it wasn't what I wanted to do, full time, and I still had a call to public life. So 1995 came around, and that was going to be a provincial election. And I believed in Mike Harris. He was this golf pro from North Bay that everybody said didn't have a chance of winning, but I believed in him and what he stood for. And I was going to be a campaign manager. And then I would impress people by being a good campaign manager and then get hired as a staffer. I'd try to stand out. I didn't know anybody, put my head up, volunteer, and then hopefully get a job at Queen's Park because I thought he was going to win. And then my candidate dropped out. And the guy that was left on the stage, some people didn't think he'd be appropriate, and they encouraged me to run because I'd been a volunteer before in the conservative campaigns. So I said, Jonathan, what the hell? Here I am. I'm 27. I'm not going to win. My seat, that conservative had never won since before I was born. But my goal was to say, I'm here. I'm here for the party. I'll take the loss and then get a job as a policy advisor. So I said, what the hell? So I ran, worked hard, signed up a lot of people, won the nomination, was in the campaign, and did my best, knocked on all the doors. We were a little bit disorganized, we were a bit scattered as a campaign, and thought, okay, I'll impress people, I'll get to know people, I'll get a job after. And then there was a debate, and about 4 or 5 days left in the campaign, I said, holy smokes, I might actually win this. People are saying, 27-year-old kid, I don't know much about you, but I like that Harris guy, what he said, or at least he's talking about the right things. Put up a lawn sign. What's going on? So one guy, Lester Vesterfelt, one of my volunteers, I think been campaigning, Lester was in his 80. I think been campaigning since the days of Laurier, right? Believed I was going to win. I thought I might win. Nobody else did. And on election night, I can still see this in my mind. I went to thanked our volunteers at the polling stations. I popped by Wendy's, ate Wendy's in the car on the way back to the campaign office. And I hear on the radio that Tim Hudak has a lead in this race. I walk in, my volunteers all cheer and scream, and I won in a squeaker by about 1,200 votes, 3-way split. And the rest, was history. That's, as Woody Allen said, right? 90% of life is showing up. I showed up.
did it, visioned it, tried your best, and boom, and now path is started. You asked me a second ago if I would have, based on the high talk, why am I not in politics? You know, and it's interesting because when I was a young lawyer and I just finished law school, many people finish law school don't necessarily go on in law. And I can tell you that my first office ever as an articling student, I sat in there. It turned out to be a converted broom closet. So I'm on Bay Street. Everybody gets their assigned offices. I walk into my office, and my office is about the size of this chair. Literally, like you walk in, and you have to squeeze past the bookcase and squeeze into the desk.
Love it.
There's no windows. All I see is the back of the kitchen where they're like taking out the dishes. That's all you can see from the office. And I'm looking there my first day, and I said to myself, "This is not what I signed up for. This is not as glamorous as LA law. I don't know if I want to do this." And the walls felt like they were caving in on me.
Yeah.
And the two professions that I thought about, if I'm not going to be a lawyer, what am I going to be? I thought rabbi or politician.
Okay.
I chose neither of them. And for my own life, it's interesting. Maybe I'll feel like differently in the future. The one thing I said to myself is, remember this: when you're a rabbi, you're any kind of clergy, you are the clergy 24/7.
True.
That is now your day. I'm no longer Jonathan.
You can't take the uniform off.
Never, ever, never. And I would say politician is the same. Once you choose to devote your life to public service, you are the politician 24/7, whatever your role is in it. And I decided that's not where I want to be. I'm a second generation lawyer. I love real estate. My dad was a real estate lawyer. He died when I was 10, and nobody else followed in his footsteps. And I said, I'm going to be the real estate lawyer. I'm going to follow in his footsteps, and I'm going to do this. And I've always been around real estate. I love real estate. It was the most unsexy part in law school and bar school. I got the third highest mark in bar ads in the real estate section. I said, real estate is for me.
There you go.
So I said to myself, maybe it's not at the end of the day. Maybe I don't want to be on Bay Street. Maybe I want to be a different size firm. Maybe who knows what it is. But I will find the way in it. But I do love what I do, and I stuck with it. And I'm glad I did. But I thought about those other professions, and I said to myself, I think I could be good at those. I like helping people, but maybe I'm going to help people this way. But I don't know if I want to lose my identity. And so that being said, you gave a significant portion of your awake years from the time on this earth to public service. And did that happily, I'm sure, with a smile on your face, different positions. Like looking through, I made the listing as far as leader of Ontario PC Party, minister of different roles, MPP, like over 21 years in it. And one of the first things I think about is, we could talk about all the accomplishments where you've been at, but I'm starting at the ending point. How do you leave at that point? You're still so young. You're so vibrant. There's so many more things that can be done. How difficult was it to walk away at that point?
It was not. And I'm glad I made the choice when I did. I left off there when I won that squeaker in 1995. And then I, worked my tail off at that point in time. Tried to go to every opening, including envelope openings, goes the old joke, keep track of people I helped out. The next election I won, I think, with 51% of the vote. I had some boundary changes that helped, but won 5 elections after that in Niagara and parts of Hamilton. When it was a tremendous honor to be leader of the Ontario PC Party, leader of the official opposition, to test your skills in that stage, to fight for what you believe in, to tell people honestly, and that's some of the things I talked about were controversial, but they're the right things to do, how you wanted to lead the province to a better place. I got close. I didn't win, but it was time to move on. And when you can control your own exit like that, that's an awesome power in life to decide when you need to walk off the stage. There are too many people in politics, in sports, in celebrity culture, I guess, or in business that stay on the stage a little too long. It was time to go. I had a good run, then try something else.
It's funny how, again, we talk about how so many of us are interrelated, and we have conversations, we meet people, and they touch us for a reason. I interviewed yesterday Fred Clare, who was the GM of the Dodgers back in 1988 when they won the World Series.
There we go.
So he was an executive with the team for years. He got thrown into the position. The other GM that was there for a long time got canned because he said something inappropriate. They put him in, inexperienced, but has been an executive, been a baseball guy, never actually played. His first year as GM, wins the World Series, the Kirk Gibson home run, that whole shebang. And then near the end of it, he ends up leaving the team after 30 years with the team because they changed the ownership. and they make a trade. They trade Mike Piazza, who was the heart and soul of the team. And Mike Piazza's gone out and he said, hold on a minute. I'm the GM, but you made the decision. You traded him. So you can make 2 press conferences now. Announce the trade and announce my resignation because I'm not going to do this. And the question I asked him yesterday, I said, Fred, you devoted your life to baseball. You've been with the Dodgers for 30 years. Other teams must have been knocking on the door. How did you not stay in baseball? You were still young. And he said the same thing you did. He said, you know what? I knew when I wanted to walk away. I got to write my own ticket. I had other things I wanted to do in life, and I want to walk out on top, and I feel good about it. And it's amazing to me how a person could devote so many years to the profession, to their role, and feel comfortable with it. And that's where I think sometimes when I see people that they maybe hang on too long, and I don't know what they're looking for as far as glory or self-fulfillment, and maybe they doubt themselves in another area. But on that token, when you think about it, when you're going into something different, something out of your wheelhouse, and you're saying, now I'm at this point in my life, I want to try a different challenge. Pretty exciting. It's scary, but challenge. It's challenging, but exciting at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. When you have that opportunity to control your fate as best as possible, as well, this whole podcast, the chosen life, right? To try to choose to do something different and choose when it's time to walk away. It's a great power to have. It's fortunate to have that opportunity as well. But boy, it's a good way to go through life when you can choose what door you go in and what door you walk out.
So I'm not going to leave politics yet. We're going to be done with it soon, but I do have to touch upon it because questions again came to my mind. When I was up there and heard you live speaking for the first time, I said to the guests at my table, I said, he was born to speak. He was born to lead. And you hear the words and you want to believe it. I felt inspired. You were talking at the time about how the real estate market was going, and at the time it was in a very positive direction. This was a few years back, and you were still relatively new in the OREA role. But again, you believed in what you were doing. You did your research, and you came to talk about some hard questions as far as where things are going in construction and with builders and planning future developments. But again, you came in there with conviction, and I appreciated that. And I said to myself, I think he's going to come back. And I know you've talked before on other forums, and I've heard interviews, and you said, I'm done. Maybe I'll come back, but probably not. One of the things I wanted to ask you was, today in our country today, let's take aside provincial-wise in Ontario where we're at, but federal-wise, when you see in the PC party, for example, that now there's going to be an election, there's going to be a new head of the federal party, and all these years with Justin Trudeau, a lot of people talking that, without getting too political on this show, but likely time for a change, and who's going to be the new leader of that. When you were watching this and seeing that opportunity, did it speak to you whatsoever? Did you think about throwing your hat into the ring at any point?
No, I don't have that itch. 21 years, and I got to, so say the number 2 spot. I didn't get to be number 1, and it is pretty hard to jump in and take the top job right away. It's hard to think of somebody who has done that. John Charest is trying to do that, but I don't think things are looking very well for him in this leadership race. Now, I think it just, again, like a pro athlete who tries to make a comeback, you're really taking a risk there. I loved what I did. I loved every moment. I'd encourage folks at home that want to make a difference for the community, the province, or the country to do so. There's nothing more rewarding than having that desk and that microphone to fight for what you want to do and what you believe in. But at a time when you lose your smile and you want to move on to something else, you shouldn't look back.
I tell people always, if you're not happy with the way things are in life, sit down, figure out those issues. What speaks to you? Ask the questions and figure out who's on your side. And if you don't like it, speak up. There's a voice. But unfortunately, a lot of people are just content to kind of sit back, let others do it, and somebody else will take care of it. But at some point, somebody has to jump in. And the leaders that want to take over a party or want to take over a country or a province, wherever they want to be at, they feel that fire in their belly and they're like, this speaks to me, I want to do it. And that's where I was curious. During this point, I can tell you, in my estimation, you have the years of experience, you have the right look, the right fit, and I can see it. But it's not for me to see it, it's for you to see it, certainly in your lifespan. And maybe it will come into the future, I don't know.
Yeah,
but
very, very kind. And I love what I'm doing now. I love the day-to-day. Like every time my feet hit the floor in the morning, I'm out there fighting to help create the next generation of Canadian homeowners, right? That is just very compelling. And to confess, I also like it that I have weekends now to spend time with my daughters and my wife. And in politics, you can bring them along, but man, you are doing the barbecue circuit, the ribbon cuttings and all that kind of stuff. You really have to have the fire in your belly, Jonathan, as you said correctly, and also the willingness to put pretty much everything on the line, including your family's time, to get over the top.
I made myself a note that I wanted to read out because this is how I kind of marinated and envisioned as we were speaking.
Sure.
And I was thinking these words would resonate with you. No regrets. Since in life, we don't live in the past. But best, the learning lessons along the way that shape us, and we're good with where we're at in life, and we see our future ahead. Does that?
Yeah, it's very touching. Very touching. You write that? Sinatra, where's that come from?
I do have, we accept what gifts we have in life,
Yep.
the limitations. The one thing that the good Lord blessed me with is the ability to speak and to write. And to describe writing for anybody who has never been a writer or doesn't feel very good, some people have to work very hard at it. For me, it just flows out of my hands and it just comes. I don't have to think about it, I don't have to marinate. It just comes. But I have to be in a zone for it. I got to be relaxed, stress free, and that's where it's a lot of fun that way and being able to express oneself. But that's a gift, and that's something from I would tell especially the viewers, and something very lacking in society, which I would say is reading books. Is people read, read, read. You want to learn? Don't write it, read it. Don't speak it, learn to listen. My parents, immigrant parents, used to take me to the library every Saturday, 7 books. All 7 have to get
7
read.
books.
Read a book a day. There was no choice. And not only that, I had to recite back the book each time after I read. Every day would sit at the dinner table and I'd have to talk about the book and what wasn't there. And there was no choice. No playing outside. There's no bike riding. There's no nothing until the books are read. And they did that to me from the time I was, I would say, kindergarten till maybe grade 4 or 5.
Well, that's hardcore. 7 books. Well, good for you. And that's great advice for those watching the podcast. If you don't mind, please do send me that line.
I will, certainly. Now, before we get into your current role, which again, I don't necessarily plan it this way, but I see the segues and everything else. In your role today, it comes back to it. Again, a lot of the things I've touched upon today is leadership. And leadership is being able to speak, express, motivate. Is this something that you were born with? Did you naturally do this from birth? Or is this something they grew into?
Geez, that's a great question. It's probably honed a bit. I don't know if I was a great talker when I was a kid. I was actually quite shy. My parents tell me a story about when I was in kindergarten. I didn't talk at all until Christmas. Didn't talk to the teacher. Didn't talk to any of the kids in the class. I was super shy. I found the whole place rather intimidating. I think what I got to give my parents some credit for this. They got me involved at a young age in various speaking contests. So whether that was the speech stuff we always did in school, the Kiwanis Festival in Niagara Falls, I would be a speechwriter. I could actually, believe it or not, poetry reciting. I couldn't sing. I could not sing to save my life. Don't ask me to dance, Jonathan. I've been banned from dancing by my wife, even at any weddings, no matter who's there. But I actually did poetry recitals where those competitions.
Did you have to memorize those?
Yeah, and there's still some of those verses welded into my head, believe it or not.
Oh, this is not reading off paper. Like, you have to memorize this thing and recite it in public.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I can remember, is there anyone there? Said the travelers. He smote upon the noonlit door, and a horse in the silence chomped the grass of the forest for any floor. That's got to be from the 1970s. Still stuck in there at some point in time. Yeah. So they did that for me. So I was always willing to take those roles. I think my parents were leaders, encouraged me to take leadership positions. And then when I was at university, I got to be a teaching assistant when I was doing my master's in economics, which really helps you to understand the material. You don't understand something if you can't teach it, right? And that was regularly in front of the classroom. So that's probably where the start came from.
Now, when you were going up in grade school, high school, student council, were you involved in that capacity? Were you involved in different clubs, leadership? Was that a part of your life?
Yeah, sports was my thing. I played a lot of sports. Yeah. Sometimes the captain of the team, but played a lot of sports. In elementary school, I was on student council. God bless my daughter, Miller. She's run for student council now that she's at her high school in Loretto Abbey. It's so sweet to see. But when I was in high school, I was not on student council. I went to the dark side and was editor of the high school paper. I was keeping those high school politicians and faculty accountable. That was my choice.
But you're still involved from one end or another. And again, it's analysis. I'm listening to you, and it's funny because I'm guaranteeing you now, everybody watching this, when they're hearing your story, Tim,
right,
first thing they're thinking of, their own story, and thinking, what was I like? Did I do that? And when you said I was shy, it's funny because I've always identified myself as shy my whole life.
You don't seem shy.
Very shy. And when you say shy, Do you remember the first moment or what event or job or something that helped you first break out of it, even at a young age? I can sure tell you mine.
Tell me yours.
So I'm in university now, undergrad. Barely speak in high school. Have my few friends, but again, I mostly just keep to myself. And I get a job at the Gap, and I'm at Yorkdale Shopping Mall, one of the busier ones in the country, and I am the greeter at the Gap, out of all places. And seeing a lot of people as they're coming in Christmas time, and I start by the way Christmas time, and they throw me right away in the front of the store, and I gotta greet everybody, and I have to answer their questions, and I'm not very comfortable with it, to be honest. And doing that for a week really helped me break my shyness real quick.
I bet.
Yeah.
And you got to be smiley and friendly with everybody, no matter what attitude they're bringing into the store.
Welcome to the Gap. Welcome to the Gap. How can I help you today? Are you looking for shirts today? Is it something along this size, or who are you shopping for today? How can I assist you? And it's also upselling. You know what really go great with that shirt is actually a pair of khakis. We just got some in right now, pleated ones. It's perfect style. And I learned the art of it. I learned the art of selling, marketing, but it's the same thing I tell the lawyers in my law firm. It's not about lawyering. It's about building relationships. Everything is about building relationships, not how can I get $1 out of you? How can I make you work for me? And how can I get advantages? How can I help you? How can we have a relationship together? And I can tell you, I've never even thought of it to this moment, but the philosophy of building relationships, probably I was their best salesperson.
There you go.
I wasn't trying to sell anything. I was trying to build a relationship, and I giving them my expertise or my advice, them listening, and whatever you like, no problem. There's 2 different colors. You can take both, take none, whatever you can. There's a store across, that maybe has it as well. But I didn't put any pressure tactics on it. But I wanted people to feel comfortable with me, and they came back asking for me. And again, it's a Gap sales job, but you know what? It's a lot of hard work. People don't understand how much goes into it, as far as 3 a.m.s, getting the shipments, changing around. They change a store every month, and you have to pull out all the displays, go again to learn how to iron clothes, out of my comfort zone. Silly little things you would think, but these are really hard jobs. You're not making a ton of money, but you're working damn hard. But that's what broke me out of my comfort zone.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and that kind of carried me through. If I had not taken that job, I don't know if I am here where I am today.
That's a great story.
It's all about stories at the end of the day, isn't it, really?
Yeah. So I don't have a comparator for that. I think it was a gradual process, but I remember in terms of public speaking and just being comfortable in front of people and enjoying the competition were those speaking contests and the poetry readings.
So now, politics when they came to an end, and you're still very young, your whole life ahead still, young family. Did you know at that point where you saw professional-wise where you were going? It was more, let me kind of test the waters and let me see what the universe brings. How did that process work?
So I knew myself well enough, and you picked up a couple of the themes. I wanted a leadership position of some kind. I like to be, as George W. Bush famously said, the decider. And secondly, I do enjoy, public affairs, and the public fight over something that I care about. I wanted to have a job that had a strong motive behind it, that connected with my heart. And that could have been, working for an association where I ended up, could have involved working for a company that I believed in. And as you just mentioned, one of my piece of advice I give to people when they ask me to talk about this: take chances. We've talked about that a little bit. Put your hand up and step forward. Number 2 is building long-lasting and trusting relationships. And when I was a PC party leader or involved in politics, I had established good relationships with the Ontario Real Estate Association. I like the realtors. I believe strongly in home ownership, what that does to us as people and to communities. And when the CEO job came open, I said, I'm going to put my hat in the ring. And
that was one of my first questions.
Yeah.
You threw the hat, or they came calling? So you were aware of it, and you.
So I was made aware of it by a friend who I had known, through the political world. Said it'd be good for you. Put your hat in before it became public. So I had a bit of an inside scoop.
Yes.
Then put my hat in the ring. And the interview committee, I'm trying to think. I think it was about 7 people, and 5 of those 7 I had met in my previous work and had established a relationship with. So number 1, I was pretty calm. I had met them before, but they all had, I learned this later, sort of a positive connection. One said, Tim, I was a nobody at OREA. I was at a conference one time, sitting at the back of the room, and you spoke, and then you came around and sat worked the room, shook my hand, sat down beside me. And unlike most politicians where they look over your shoulder to see, who's more important in the room to talk to, you look me in the eye, you talk to me about me, you talk about my business. And she had remembered that to that very day, and she had climbed the ladder. So when I went for the job, because I had established a long and trusting relationship with not only individuals, but the association, it really helped me, I think, get a head start and an advantage in that competition for that job.
I've been following your path in OREA because we have this natural fit together, just the way the universe kind of works. When I joined my law firm, Kormans, at 2015 as a junior partner at that point, I was looking for more challenges, and I was giving lots of seminars and constantly public speaking workshops. And I reached out to OREA and I said, I think you guys do really great work. And I'm an experienced practitioner. I'm not retired. I'm in the trenches. How can I help the next breed of realtors? How can I help disseminate information? That was my starting point. And as luck would have it, by the time I became facilitator, you joined, I believe, in 2016, if I'm not mistaken.
You got it, exactly.
So we've almost been following the same path that way. So now, by the time you come on board, I've been spending 6 months dissecting OREA, understanding exactly how they're set up, and whether I can devote my time and attention, because it's a big commitment. Like if you're a full-time practicing lawyer, to decide that I'm going to prepare these materials and I'm going to design my class time, there's only so much to give. You have personal life, you have the professional life, you're going to teach as well. For anybody who wants to be a facilitator or instructor in general, you're going to be part of something like that. You have to decide you're making this commitment. And I did. And I was so glad I did. And I remember sitting in the OREA interview, and I had 4 people interviewing me to be a facilitator.
Oh, wow.
They don't joke around. So I'm sitting like a chair here. They were all wrapped around, and they were rapid firing at me for 10 minutes. They took it very, very seriously. And I was very, very impressed. So I already knew the ins and outs of OREA that I had no idea before. I find out you come on board, and I said, I start to have this quandary in my head, because on one hand, I'm saying to myself, why is this man not going to be prime minister one day? Like, why is he not there? Like this, that's where I was envisioned for you. That was my goal as far as going on into politics. That's just where I saw you for all those years that that I've been aware that I knew your name. And then I kind of thought about it going back, and I said to myself, look at this, because you have the name, you're known in the community. I figured you must have a relationship, because if you're going to be in politics, real estate always goes hand in hand. That's always a hot button topic.
Yep, for sure.
You're always asking about it. This is now going to give a profile for real estate. He's going to put the work into it like he did in the PC party. I think real estate's in really good hands right now. So I was very, very excited. And that's where I came to that seminar to come hear you speak specifically. We meet in the bathroom. I end up at OREA to come and to your office. And fantastic. And it's been 6 years. How does time fly?
Like that, eh? Like that. Flies by. That's good of you to say. It was said it was a job that really gave me a lot of motivation. We've had, I think, tremendous success in raising the bar when it comes to professional standards, new legislation like the Trust and Real Estate Services Act. We brought in personal real estate corporations, which our members now can use as a modern business tool to help with their tax planning, investing, hiring, servicing their clients better. And we've had a dramatic impact on the way government looks at real estate as well. Really focused on creating more homes people can afford. So I do feel like my background in politics and advocacy, some of the public speaking qualities, and knowing your way around Queen's Park, right? I think that has helped really advance the agenda. And we've got a great team. Realtors are instant, successful salespeople. So when you bring them in for the big meeting, they kind of know how to close the deal.
When I speak to realtor friends of mine and told them you're coming on the program, their eyes light up. It's amazing how many, especially the millennials, don't actually know you at all from the political career. They know you as OREA. That's it. But they've seen you in the news. They read the statements you make. You make sure that you're advocating. And that's an important thing for this industry, because the lifeline, in my estimation, of society, the economy, the market, jobs, a lot of it revolves around real estate, as far as building real estate, construction, people owning homes, affordable homes, realtors, the profession, mortgage brokers, home inspectors, lawyers, like everybody's interrelated. The amount of money and jobs and the economy that goes, it lives and dies almost by real estate. Right now, where we're at in 2022, what's the first thing that people would ask? Where's the market? Where's the market? Where's the market? Interest rates? Where's the market? I can tell you when COVID began, which we're not going into COVID, but the one thing I cared about, knowing, I have a business going, my employees, are we going to be an essential business? Are we going to function? I have clients, I have people. I need to get them into their homes. We have closings next week. We have closings next month. how are we going to do this? If we're not an essential business, what's going to happen here? Fortunately, it all worked out. I know there's a lot of advocacy in the background, making sure things like that did happen, and it did. We got through difficult times. We're now in a difficult time as well today, as far as in the crossroads and people not knowing the crystal ball where things are going.
Yep.
But what I talked this morning on a real estate podcast, and I said, go to your professionals, talk to the trusted people who've been through this through decades before. Know that there's a cycle to these things. Don't give up. It always turns around, maybe sooner than you even think about it. But think positively. Don't necessarily believe everything gospel-wise. And this is not to speak badly on journalism whatsoever. They have their roles, and I understand that. But don't necessarily believe doom and gloom. I think that Ontario's traditionally been very, very strong, the Canadian market in general. And I still see good things. And we're going to dive into that in a little bit as we wrap it up today. But from an OREA standpoint, these are the kinds of things, issues that come for you. I'm sure daily you've lived and breathed and slept it for the last 6 years. I can see that when I come into OREA, when we met, the respect that you command there, I love it there because there is a leadership structure and there is a hierarchy, but yet everybody's working on that level. I love how you brought in the staff and you're working with OREA, but everybody, no matter what their position is, you're all working together as a team, and that's great to see.
Thank you. I like thinking so. Blessed to have a very strong and experienced team who've done a very good job of keeping the talent and attracting new talent to advance the mission. A tremendous board of directors, a lot of experience and insight to give us guidance and strategic direction. But the bottom line, Jonathan, that's rewarding about this job, we really have two things that we strive to do. Number one, helping create more homeowners in our province, people that have played by the rules, they've done everything right, they got their degree, they saved up every buck that they could, but they can't find a home that they can afford to save their lives. And we want to make that difference to help bring those keys closer to home with our members. And number two is making sure that realtor at your side has the highest professional standards anywhere in North America. When you're making the most crucial decision on your biggest asset, both financially and to you personally, you want to make sure you've got a trusted advisor there. And we've raised the bar when it comes to our professional standards, tougher discipline for those who break the rules. And we've really moved the ball on both those fronts. And I'm excited about the time ahead as we get, halfway through 2022.
I love it. Now, I was going to give the example of IBM. When you and I were growing up, IBM, we knew them for computers.
Absolutely.
Right? Desktops. And now it's consulting. You need to evolve or you don't. And one of the things that I've been very impressed with, because when you came on board, I think OREA was at a crossroads and which direction it's heading in. And I could say sitting here in the year 2022, the future is very, very bright. If you can help shed some light for the listeners, so especially for those realtors out there that are watching and understanding, what is OREA? Why are they there for me? What am I a part of this? What are they doing? And where are they headed?
Yeah. So the top functions we do, the advocacy I've talked about, we are there to be the voice of the homeowner and those who aspire to own homes. We want to be the voice of our realtors and the men and women and families that they work hard for every day. And I love it. You should have done this too, John. I think when you talk to a realtor about the first time they helped out a first-time home buyer, like their smiles light up their face, right? More of that. That's number one in advocacy with professional standards and raising the bar. Number two, we do the standard forums. That's the common language when it comes to real estate. So whether you're in Toronto or Timmins or Tobermory, right, you use our forums to make sure that we smooth out the real estate deal and try to anticipate anything that might be a gray area, a risky area, that we have a forum for that. Third, we're doing more guidance. You talked about what happened during COVID. So when new government rules come out, there's a new court decision. How do I cope with that? So we inform our members and give them guidance on best practices to deal with the issues of the day that are evolving. And fourth and finally, for those watching at home that are in real estate who want to get involved as leaders, you want to be on your local board, provincially, nationally, or you want to volunteer on your local hospital board, soccer club, BMA, or whatever, we do leadership training to help put those incredible talents and experience of realtors to work for their communities, to run for public office. Two reasons here. Number one, the more realtors we actually have elected, the better decisions we're going to have for real estate. Because if somebody buys one or two houses in their life, they think they're experts, right? Politicians may make bad decisions, need realtors in office to make sure that when the doors close and only the politicians are there, they make the right decisions. But number two is, my experience in my 21 years in politics, spoke to all kinds of groups, big and small, in cities, towns, and villages. Jonathan, it's incredible that the greatest set of volunteers were Ontario realtors. Wherever you went, was it the food bank or the hockey club? It was a realtor who was leading the way on the school council. Right? They do an incredible job volunteering at a very grassroots level. Our leadership training helps to get those skills and do even more of that.
Best realtors that I know, and you're saying this, and it's triggering now memories for me. How many realtors I know that are Rotarians,
Yeah.
Kiwanis, hospital boards, like you're saying, it begins with that. And it's simply not that they're trying to drum up business or trying to get an angle. Many of them don't even advertise that. It's building those relationships in their community, understanding the people and needs. If you do good out there, it'll come back. You never worry about the last buck, they always say.
Yep.
But not what can I get out of somebody, but what can I do for that person? I can tell you, as a real estate lawyer and having taught it and talked about the changes, it's been so refreshing. First of all, you talk about the PREX, night and day difference, why this was not in place sooner. And realtors were so thankful for it because from a tax planning perspective, it's a no-brainer for them. All the other professions had it. Why did they not have it?
Mm-hmm.
They're fantastic. Clarity on marketing and being able to use the right terms, not the right terms. And also as far as protecting the public from advertising as well. Great changes as far as the forms are coming. So we've seen that. I know I've invoked it and I've talked about it with realtors and it's been a lot smooth sailing. The two, you're talking about forms, pottles. Nobody seems to understand what a pottle is, a parcel of tied land. And I can tell you how many times people don't use that form at all. And the other one, which if we were sitting in your office, and I'm just going to throw there in general, that has come up time and time again, is assignments.
Mm-hmm.
So for some reason, people have deemed me, they say I'm self-proclaiming this. I am not, but they call me the assignment king of Toronto.
Okay.
I do a lot of assignments, too many assignments. I give a lot of seminars on assignments. It's not a very difficult thing, but the unknown scares the bejeebers out of people. If somebody's never done an assignment before, they get very nervous. It's like I can see when I'm working in the office, somebody who does the same role day to day, they're very comfortable. You throw one thing into the equation, that can stop the whole process all of a sudden. Assignments are no different. But the truth of the matter is they are very complicated transactions. There's tax implications. There's much going on there. I'm telling you right now that I'm offering up my services and anything that I can do to assist in the process of the profession. Assignments are not going away anytime soon. I think they're all going to grow as far as people purchasing mostly they're new construction. I know people do them from a resale perspective, but that's more, I would say, in BC. We don't see them as much in Ontario. But people choosing to buy new construction, saying, this is not working for me, whatever reason. Maybe I got divorced, maybe I got married, I'm having a kid, I'm changing my job. Whatever it being, and somebody saying, I'm just, or maybe they're just flipping it. There's all sorts of things out there. I know policymakers from the government level look at these things as far as how is this affecting end users, and they've made some clarity recently with HST. But those forms and how assignments are done, I know I'm out there pounding the pavements, speaking to brokerages. That's a biggie, and you have my services. You have it now on the record. Anytime I could then help the profession from the assignment point of view, you got it.
Deeply appreciate it. Thank you.
So as we sum up today, I'm going to ask you now, looking today, we cannot possibly talk about our respective professions of where we're at and seeing where we are in the year 2022, knowing what you do behind OREA, what OREA is, and you and I must get the same questions on a daily basis as we talked about. Where's the market at? Where are interest rates at? I guess without looking into a crystal ball, sitting today, where are you seeing the real estate market in Toronto, Ontario? Where are we at currently compared to previous years, and where do you see us headed at this point?
Yeah, I'm a medium long-term optimist. Obviously, a lot of turbulence happening now. We've come down from what were significant highs in the marketplace in February, March. By and large, here in the July figures, most of the provinces are up slightly from the year before. But we saw real estate prices double, triple, even go up quadruple in the last 5 to 10 years, depending on the marketplace. It is a proven long-term investment. It's where you raise your family. It's where you're the most comfortable. It's where you are truly at home, and you can't live in a stock or a bond. And that's why I believe that Ontarians are going to return to home ownership. I think people are watching to see where mortgage rates go and interest rates go as we fight inflation. Once that stabilizes, there's a lot of underlying demand. You've got millennials now, which is the largest generation of home buyers in Canada's history, who are getting promoted, getting married, having families, coming into the marketplace. You've got the bank of mom and dad, the boomers, right? The richest generation, and they worked hard, and they earned it, and they saved, who love their sons and daughters dearly, but wouldn't mind if they moved out of the basement and got a place of their own, helping to finance that. I think Ontario's economy will remain strong. And of course, immigration and foreign students are coming back into our province. All of that with limited supply tells me there's going to be upward pressure on prices once we get through this interest rate uncertainty caused by inflation. The biggest thing, Jonathan, I worry about is now that the headlines have shifted from affordability issues to what's happening with housing prices, we got to make sure the politicians stay focused on increasing housing supply. More choices people can afford for first-time home buyers, move-up buyers when the kids come along, quality rentals. We can't take our foot off the pedal when it comes to increasing supply and choice. Interest rates go up, they affect prices, but it doesn't make it affordable for people who are struggling to get in the marketplace. Only supply can.
So I'm Dougie Ford. I'm
Yeah.
sitting here now, hearing what Tim Hudak has to say. I said, Tim, I like what you're saying. That sounds right to me. I want to take care of my family. I want to take care of future families. I care about my province. I hear what you're saying. Help me help myself. What can I do to help make those goals a reality?
Yeah, well, I'd say, Premier, keep doing what you're doing and make good on the promises you made. You know, I've known Premier Ford for probably 20 plus years, and he's really personally motivated on this. Like I talked about my drive, and I can see you nodding. You share it, Jonathan. He's really motivated because he knows what home ownership means to get more homes built. He calls them attainable, that they're actually attainable for people. So I put a number of suggestions on the table in my capacity as OREA CEO, and I sat on the Housing Affordability Task Force. And that task force came up with a plan for how we can build 1.5 million homes in the next 10 years. That's what we need to catch up on affordability. So to the Premier, that is your roadmap to making sure that the Canadian dream of homeownership can be achieved again in Toronto and across the province of Ontario. It means intensifying along transit areas like our subways, for example, ending exclusionary zoning, which does not enable duplexes, triplexes to be in particular neighborhoods, converting underutilized government land and buildings into housing, using land that's not yet been developed, that's not environmentally sensitive, putting that towards something. The answers are there. The Premier knows them. And I'm really excited with what I'm hearing about that he's going to do to implement that plan to help create more homeowners. I think we're on the right path. Just takes guts to get it done. So use the guts, follow that recipe, and you'll help out a lot of people.
He tells you, look, you've been 6 years now at OREA. Love what you're doing. What do you see as far as if in a perfect world you can bring your position and you can bring OREA to help the government do that? What do you see the role going forward?
Yeah, we do have the Premier's ear, that of the Housing Minister, Steve Clark, as well. And I will tell you, politics is a bit like, well, I'll say this to your audience and trust you, a bit like pro wrestling. You can make a lot of noise for the cameras, do your chair shots and all that kind of stuff, but you can actually get along well and have a beer outside of it. So we've actually got a very good audience with Liberals, New Democrats, and Green Party too. A lot of our ideas were in their election platforms. So what do we want? We want to be the ear of the province. We'd love it if they followed our guidelines. Nothing will make us happier than to see, more Ontarians who can own their own home in big cities and small towns. We've done our homework. The ideas are on the table. We just need the province to get them, put them into the plan, and put them into law.
One of the things I love as far as your accessibility goes, Tim, is I see a hot button issue come up. Many times it's in BC. For whatever reason, BC tends to be the trailblazer in this country. And you see what's going on in BC, you have an idea of what's starting to trickle down eventually over to us. And I remember seeing a couple times things that I did not seem to be too fond of, forwarded it to right away. Within moments, I get a response back. This is something interesting we should talk about. And you're right, you find out about it, you're probably already on it, and you're ready to do something. I appreciate that very much. And everybody that you touch their lives through OREA are appreciative as well, because you're directly helping the economy, you're helping the province, you're helping jobs, and that's a fantastic thing to see. So thank you.
No, deeply appreciated. Thanks for having me on today, and thanks. Keep sending me that advice and what you want to set yourself up for, government, being a trusted advisor and making sure you understand how you can help government solve its problems. The government has an affordability crisis, so we're there to help solve that problem for them.
The last question for today.
Yeah.
I was thinking about how I was going to phrase it, but I was going to say a realtor. I was going to say a future politician, but no. I'm going to just say a young person. Maybe they're in school, think about their future goals. They see where you progressed in your career, in your life through education, family. If you had to sit down with that young person today and saying, help me find my chosen life. What advice would you give them today?
You know, my grandpa, my mom's side of the family, Grandpa Dylan, told me, you know, go where your heart is. Go where your heart is. Don't chase the money. Go where your heart is, because then you'll love every day. You'll be good at what you do. You'll be motivated. And then in so doing, the money will come. And most importantly, so does happiness. I think you should always follow your heart, and you'll have a better future as a result of that, and no regrets. And my other piece of advice I'd say on top of that, just reinforce some themes here today, Jonathan. You should always work hard and demonstrate good work. Number 2, raise your hand and be that guy that steps forward and takes the chance and volunteers for the team. And third and finally, there is nothing better for your success than building long-lasting and trusting relationships.
Thank you for being a wonderful human being. Thank you for putting goodness out there. And honestly, I appreciate your friendship. It's been great getting to know you and seeing where your life will progress, all of ours. And thank you for taking time for the viewers today. I'm sure they learned a lot. I'm going to ask them to hit that subscribe button. Make sure they put those comments through. We'd love to hear feedback. I'll forward off to you some of the great ones. And we'll stay in contact. And thank you for appearing today on Chosen
My
Life.
pleasure. Absolutely. Keep up the good work on The Chosen Life, The Chosen Lawyer, and hit that subscribe button, the chosen button as well.
And as we sign off, we always do the flex. We do this.
Sure.
And we say, keep living the chosen life. Cheers.
Thank you.